welcome to another episode of Barley, Hops, and Yarn, the podcast. My name is Jennifer. I'm the face behind Barley, Hops, and Yarn. The podcast itself is primarily about knitting. Sometimes I'll showcase off some yarn that I have made myself, which will be the case this episode. But ultimately I am the face, the dyer, the knitter, the etc. behind Barley, Hops, and Yarn. So today we are going to be going over this cowl. It is the Alien Cowl, and it is by handknitbykam, K-A-M. I'll put a thingy down below so you can see it. And we have aliens. This is reversible, so on the inside we have stripy stripes, and then outside is the aliens. And yes, I did wear my Bad Flower alien band shirt specifically for this podcast on purpose. The pink color, so both of these yarns are by me. Pink color is Sally. It does have some black specklies in it. The green color is Pigpen, also has some not sparklies, I don't do sparklies, also has some black specklies in it. And these two yarns are from my Peanuts collection. So you can find those online if you are so inclined to do so. I am kind of going to be revamping some of my colorways, so I will likely put these out without speckles as well, just in case you didn't want the speckles in them. But I love how this has turned out, which is good because it took me 3 tries to make it. Which is not the pattern's fault, it's my fault. So getting into it, back to the yarn. Both of these are fingering weight. It is, my blend is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, 100 grams, and it is 463 yards. So again, this pattern is the Aliens Cowl, hand knit by Cam, K-A-M. You can get it on Ravelry, and the cost was $9.50 Canadian. Do they call them dollars? I don't know. I mean, I realize I'm an idiot right now, but yeah, Canadian dollars. CAD, Canadian dollars. Anyway, conversion rate when I checked, when I took my notes, that is just under $7 US. Now I will say there is, I will take a picture of this and just kind of put it up so I don't have to keep holding it up because my arms are gonna get tired. But there is an error. So this pattern has both a chart and it has written out instructions as well. I personally prefer to work from written out instructions as opposed to the chart. It's not that big of a deal, but like charts are written bottom up and my brain doesn't like that. So sometimes I have a hard time with like reading it properly. Because my brain says we should be going top down, not bottom up, which it ultimately doesn't matter, but that's why I tend to prefer working from the written instructions. So there is an error on the written instructions in one portion where it specifically says to use color A when you should be using color B or something along those lines. By the time you get to that error, it's pretty apparent that that is an error and like which color you should be using. You're only using 2 colors. You're making aliens, like you're going to be able to read it and see. I did send Cam a message to let them know that the error was there, but as of, and they did acknowledge me, but as of at least mid-January of 2026, it had not been fixed yet. So I don't know if it's on their radar to actually go ahead and fix it or if they're just going to leave it. I do find it disappointing that the error is there, especially because it is a paid for pattern and the pattern was test knit. So like, did your test knitters just not notice it? Did your test knitters give you that feedback and you didn't do anything with it? I don't know. But ultimately, like it's a minor error. It's a pretty easy to figure out error, and the error is only in the written instructions. It's not in the chart. So if you're working off of the chart, you're not even going to notice it. Let's see. I did use, again, I didn't say it at the top of the podcast, but if you see me looking down, it's because I'm referencing my notes. This specific pattern does call for 2 different needle sizes. You're doing the stripes in the smaller needle, and then the color work in the white. There we go. Color work in the larger needle size. Smaller needle, the pattern calls to use a US 2.5, larger needle US 4. That translates out to a 3mm and a 3.5mm. I opted to go a size larger for each of those, and I used a US 3 and a US 5, which translates out to a 3.25 and 3.75mm. Main reason why I did that is just because this is a shop sample for me. It's not something that I'm gonna be wearing super often or using or anything like that. I could just do that. It's like I have a bib. My cowl is a bib. But yeah, so I did size up. I feel like fit wise, I mean, as you guys saw when I first put it on, it's not like, I can still use it pretty nicely, even though it's a little bit oversized now. And I could, if I wanted to, put it over my head, make it a little bit more of a snood since it's larger. But anyway, ultimately, the reason why I went with the larger sizes is because one, I had them available. Two, those are sizes that I tend to use more frequently anyway. So I just kind of stuck with what I knew. Now I mentioned that I have done this 3 times. I have been trying to make this project since November of 2022. And I just finished it in January of 2026. So it's taken me a while, to put it lightly. But essentially the very first time I did it, did I put my notes in as to why? No, I did not. So this requires a provisional cast on. Very first time I did it, it was either first or second time I was doing a provisional cast on. And this is also, I think, my first actual like color work project. It's not. I made a small color work hat before I made this, but this is like my first kind of in-depth color work project. And I got to the point where I was doing the color work and I just wasn't super happy with how it was coming out tension wise. So then I kind of let it sit in timeout for a little while, decided I would go ahead and frog it all out, redid it, decided again I wasn't super happy with the color work, frogged it all again, and then it sat in timeout for like probably 2 years. Just because I was annoyed with it and frustrated with it. And then when I decided last year to go ahead and give it another shot, because again, I was like stuck on this pattern. I wanted this pattern, I wanted the aliens, I wanted this yarn. Like I could picture what I wanted. It was just, I was having a hard time getting what I wanted to look the way it was. So then I decided, you know what, let me go ahead and I'm gonna size the needles up, see if that makes a difference with my tension, specifically with regards to the color work. And I don't know that it did or not. I will say that using the frogged yarn that I had already used was probably not a great idea with regards to like knitting up color work. Now, as you can tell, it has all blocked out nicely. Like there's no, you can't really tell that I was using yarn that had already been used and frogged before. So it ended up not being an issue ultimately. But like when I'm reading my yarn, when I'm looking at my yarn, when I'm self-evaluating my tension as I'm working on it, definitely using the already frogged yarn like made it extra crinkly and extra like, I don't know how this is gonna turn out. But I decided, I was just like, you know what? I'm not frogging this out, ripping this out, and redoing it for a 4th time. We're just gonna keep going. So I kept going, and then now I have it finished, and I'm pleased with how it looks. Blocking definitely makes a difference in the majority of your projects, but especially color work with kind of evening out that tension. But But yeah, so I did learn that having the same alien, like there's just the same motif over and over and over again, was like, it did get kind of tiring and boring. So if I make another kind of color work cowl of this style, so to speak, like I think it's Pacific Knit Co. has the doodle cards or whatever those are called, where it's like they have the color work, different color work things where you make cowls and socks and whatever else. I definitely would need to do different, kind of break it up into different motifs instead of just having like straight aliens the entire time, because it did not fill my dopamine rush. It just kind of, it was like, once I finished the chart once, and you do the chart 3 times, once I finished the chart once, I was like, okay, I don't want to do this again. Especially since I had already done the chart twice before on different occasions with making this pattern. Ultimately, I forgot to weigh out how much yarn I used. That's not true. I'm pretty sure I did weigh it out and just forgot to write it down. Let me see. Let's see if while I talk I can find it. In the meantime, while I'm looking for this, for the pattern itself, you need to be unafraid of or willing to learn, if you don't know it, stranded color work, obviously. All right, I did not. So I don't know how much yarn I used specifically, but I will put that after I record, and while I edit and everything, I'll put it over here so you guys know how much yarn I used. But yeah, so you need to know or be unafraid of stranded color work, carrying the yarn up as you work with it with the stripes section, or weaving in a ton of ends. I personally, just even on the larger stripes here, I just carried the yarn up because I was like, I'm not weaving those ends in. That's not happening. Especially because it's a tube, so it's on the inside. So not like anyone's gonna see anything and it's gonna bother anything. You do need to know provisional cast on, and I know there are a couple different methods of which to do provisional cast on. I did the crochet chain method, which worked fine for me. But I know that there are some ways that are potentially easier that don't involve getting a crochet hook out. You obviously need to be able to knit in the round, and then to join your tube together, you do need to be able to do a Kitchener stitch. All in all, I would probably give this pattern, again, all of my gradings are for me personally, I would probably give this pattern a C, which I realize isn't a great grade. I mean, it's passing, but I got bored with the aliens and just kind of repeating that same chart multiple times. The stripes, when I got to the stripes that were the longer chunks, felt tedious at that point, and I just really wanted to be done. Again, going back to that one error, I don't love that there's an error that's been pointed out that was test knit that's still in a pattern that I paid for. It was a noticeable, easy to figure out error. It's not like it was going to dramatically, well, it would have changed the way the aliens looked had I not noticed it, but I noticed it and it was an easy fix. It wasn't like it took a ton of brain power or anything. And ultimately I just didn't, as happy as I am to have this finished project, like this finished object, it was not something I enjoyed knitting on long term. So those are the reasons for my not super great grade. But I love my cowl. I love my aliens. I can't wait to have it on display at my next show. Be like, I made that, and I made the yarn that goes with it, and I made aliens. So yeah, that is all I have to say about this project. I realize this episode's probably going to be a little bit shorter than my past 2 episodes have been, but I mean, it's a cowl. There's not that much to talk about with regards to fit or gauge or anything like that. So a little bit less in depth of a pattern review than it is for some garments. But with all that being said, thank you for joining me. If you're new, thanks for checking me out. I hope you stick around. If you are not new, thanks for returning and sticking with me. I really appreciate it. If you would like to like, comment, or subscribe, it would make me happy. If you don't, that's okay too. But all in all, have a great rest of your day or evening or whatever it is in your neck of the woods right now. Thanks. Bye.